is famous for saying, if I asked the people what they wanted, they would have told me faster horses. Yet he knew that there was a better way. And up until that point in time, people were telling him, guess what? We don't have roads that are going to handle that thing. Horses are fast enough. Yet he knew that there was something greater. And every single one of you, I want you to know there's something greater for every single one of you as well. You have inside of you an unlimited capacity to accomplish whatever it is that you're dreaming about, whatever it is that you believe you can do. And all you have to do is get clarity on that and create it in your mind as though it's already happened. Yesterday in Bold, we talked about be, do, and achieve. The clarity that Henry Ford had is he knew right here what this could be. He knew what he wanted to accomplish. He knew what he wanted that to become. So he took the actions and did it. And then because of that, something absolutely incredible to the point where his company is still living out that legacy today. So as we get started today, I want you to keep in mind that anything that you want in your life is possible. And here's the greatest thing that we have going for us right now. There's so many agents out there who are burying in the sand and saying, guess what? You know what? The market will catch back up to me, and then everything is going to be just fine. I'm not going to change anything that I've done before. And the reality is, if you choose not to change anything, guess what? You will lose 100% of the time, because those people who are burying their head in the sand right now, they're going to look up in a couple of years, and they're going to be looking up from that they don't like and things that they don't love doing because they didn't choose to do something different in this moment of opportunity that we have right now. That's exactly what this call is all about, the opportunity that is being presented to every single one of us today. So with that, I want to turn it over right now to Steve Berezin, one of our productivity coaches in our Aventura office. Steve, we've got a pretty special guest with us today. You have a great relationship with him, and I want you to take a moment to introduce him today. I think you're muted, Steve.
Muted.
There you go.
First time on a Zoom.
Maybe first time in the last hour.
In the last 10 minutes. Yeah, thank you very much, Scott. I'm really excited. I have been wanting this since the day I moved down to Florida, and Tony has been a really big part of my life, and so has his wife Diana Kokoska. And especially since I'm not sure if Tony even knows this, but we just started Bold. I just said the B word. I should have just said the B word. We just started Bold, and yesterday was our second session on it for those taking it. And Tony, I was lucky enough to have Tony as one of the investors in our Chicago office. And so we were fortunate enough to have him be able to come and speak and do Zooms with us, and even once in a while hopped on some dialogue script practicing Zooms with us there. And so I asked him a while back if he'd be willing to do a Zoom for the Waxman Group. And he, of course, said yes, and I'm very grateful. So I want to have everybody get your pen, get your paper, get ready to take some serious notes, because this man is like the star to all of the stars when it comes to the top agents. And this man is going to rock your world. And that's it. I'm going to keep it short and let Tony take it over. So Scott, if you can show pin Tony, we're going to have some Q&A at the end. So make your notes, make your questions, and let's get this show on the road.
Tony, take it away. You're muted.
Can you pin Tony?
Yes.
Okay. So Scott, I have one quick question.
Yes.
Do you want me to talk about what we should be doing with the last 68 days of the year, or do you want me to get in the big picture, what it's going to take to still be in real estate in the next 2 years?
You know, I think that's the real, that would be the most powerful thing that we could be talking about today,
okay,
is what it's going to take.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to be here. Just quickly about my background. I sold real estate in Boulder, Colorado for 25 years. I sold with Remax at the time. I joined Keller Williams in 1999. My selling career, I was pretty successful. I reached the top 10 in the world for Remax for several years. And then I started coaching in 1999. I've done somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 to 30,000 coaching calls with some of the top people in the country. And what I've been doing lately is spending time with those people, listening to podcasts. I just listened to a podcast to somebody that I have been in relationship. I never did coach him, but I've been in relationship. He'll probably do over 1,000 closings this year. Just to give you an idea of what's happening in the industry. I have a friend I talked to, I coached him for probably 15 years. His team will do over 4,000 closings this year. But wow. The interesting thing is, not only that, but they're going to do probably 600 closings more than they did last year.
Wow,
so
that's
in
great.
A market where people are quote unquote can't figuring out how to do the market. These people are figuring out how to do the market. You know, just their growth would be a good year for most of the people. So I really just sat down and listened and been collecting information of where is this business going and what do we need to be doing to be successful in this business. And fortunately or unfortunately, this business is really a simple business, which we have done everything possible to complicate it to be the most complicated business in the world. And so if you really want to boil down to what they're doing and figure out how to be successful, because what Scott was saying is absolutely the truth. If you read Inman, they figure in the next 2 years, we could lose 1 million realtors. Now, I want you all to know, you should be celebrating we're losing 1 million realtors.
Yep.
Because those are the people that are picking your pocket. They're getting Aunt Mary to do a deal with me, and Uncle Joe to do a deal with me, and my cousin to do a deal with me. And they might do 1 or 2 deals a year each, but when you add them all up, it turns out to be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of transactions. If you really think about this, there's 1.6 realtors, 1.6 million realtors. We're going to close somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 4.3 million transactions, or approximately 8.6 million sides. Well, if you take 8,600,000 sides, and every realtor did 25 closings. Would anybody like to take a guess how many realtors you would need to service that number of transactions? Well, I got the number right here. Can anybody read it?
I think you accidentally hit clear. It says 0.
Oh, I cleared it. That was 300. We need 344,000 realtors if every realtor did 25 transactions.
Wow.
And at 25 transactions, that is not a great lifestyle unless you have a really big commission. So we could afford to lose 1.2 million realtors because right now there's only enough transactions based on the 8.6 million sides for every realtor to do about 3 deals. And I don't know anybody that can live on 3 transactions.
Nope.
So here's the truth of the business. the truth of the business is now boiled down to what I've learned is in talking to realtors and being on podcasts and everything, the business is boiling down to 3 words. So if you have a piece of paper, what I'd like you to do, I'll start one myself. I'd like you to draw a circle at the top of a piece of paper.
Got
If
it.
I were to boil real estate down to 1 word, can these people participate, Scott? Do they just,
Yes, all they have to do is unmute themselves.
just unmute? So unmute, and anybody give me the 1 word that would make you successful in real estate. Anybody give me a word?
Lead generation.
Consistency.
Lead generation. I'll buy that one. Because if you drop 2 lines down off of that main word, lead generation, and we're gonna actually alter that word a little bit, but lead generation would be on the bottom right-hand line that drops. So lead generation is part of it. It's not the key word. What else? What would be
Relationships.
relationships? That would be part of lead generation.
Systems.
What?
Systems.
Distance?
No, systems.
Systems. Systems would be-
Mindset.
Follow up.
Mindset.
That's part of the part of the picture. What's the-
Is it
Consistency.
listings?
Follow up.
Motivation.
Consistency.
Got to be listings, guys.
I'll give you the 1 word. Starts with a C. C-O-N.
Consistency.
Conversion.
Consistency.
Consistent.
This business boils down to consistency. Consistency where? You already got one of the answers.
Lead generation. Follow up.
Consistency in lead generation and lead follow-up.
Going
And
on appointments.
what's the second consistency?
Your schedule.
That'd be part of lead generation. It'd be part of this one also.
Appointments.
It's a word that we should be, according to Keller Williams, a realtor does 5 things. What's the first thing realtors do?
Lead generate.
And
lead generate.
What's the second?
Follow up.
Negotiate.
Follow up on
contracts.
appointments. Yeah, lead follow up. What's the third one?
Go on appointments.
Go on appointments. What's the fourth one?
Negotiate contracts.
What's the 5th one?
Role play.
Practice and role play.
Scripts.
Skills. So basically, if you want to do 25 closings, you want to do 100 closings, you want to do 500 closings, you want to do 1,000 closings, you want to do 4,000 closings, you have to be consistent. And consistent, how often do you need to be consistent?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day of every
Week.
of every
Week.
every month, of every quarter, of every year. I have a friend, I coached him probably for 10 or 12 years. He has not missed a day of lead generation since January 2nd, 2000. When was the last time you missed the day of lead generation? January 2nd, 2000. That means his
Almost 24 years.
almost 24 years of consistency. The team, I talked about doing 4,000 closings. I called him up, about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. And I said, I heard your goal is to do 4,300 closings this year. And he said, yeah. And I said, can you boil down into one word how you got to 4,300? Because I coached him starting April of 2000. And he's grown basically, they were doing probably 80 closings at the time. So they've gone, in 23 years, they've gone from 80 to 4,300. If he hits his goal this year, anything over 4,000 probably. And I said, okay. He said, what's the word? And he said, what did we talk about on my first coaching call with you? I said, they were prospecting approximately 3 hours a day, him and his dad. And I said, so what did we talk about? He said, doing that consistently. And I said, so what does that mean to you? And he said, today I have a team of 150 people. In the beginning, there were 2 of us doing 3 hours a day. Then there were 4 of us doing 3 hours a day. Then there were 6 of us doing 3 hours a day. So the only thing that he's done is consistently lead generate for 23 years. And it's gone from 2 people to 150 people. So in reality today, how much lead generation does that team do in one day?
450 hours.
450 hours a day. They average 8 contacts an hour. They talk to 3,600 people a day. If you talk to 3,600 people a day, do you think you could find 5 to 15 transactions a day?
Yes.
Does everybody else agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because remember what somebody used the word mindset. We're in a mindset situation right now, are we not?
Yes.
So the mindset has to be a different mindset, but the mindset has to boil down to this. I don't care if there's one of me calling, if we've got a team of 5 calling, or we got a team of 100 calling. The consistency is you have to do it every day.
Hey,
And-
Tony,
Yeah,
one of the things that I don't know if anybody else heard this, especially people who have teams, is that everybody on the team is lead generating. It's not, they're not expected just to have leads be generated for them, correct?
everybody lead generates every day. They have to be
Thank you.
in the office by 7:45. They do affirmations. Then at 8 o'clock, the door is locked. They all call in one location. All 100 are in the same location. At 8 o'clock, the door is locked. And if you're not there at 8 o'clock, that's a check mark. Does this sound familiar? Since you in your second session of Bold?
Yeah.
If you don't do your lead generation, what happens with Bold? You get a
You
You get a
foul.
foul.
Yes, he played baseball, he didn't play basketball.
So you got strikes.
And he used strikes. And you're right, Scott. 3 strikes, or basically missing 3 days. They call you up and just said, we just sent your real estate commission, or we just sent your license back to the South Carolina Real Estate Commission. So you now have the opportunity to go wherever you want to go. And it's not here because you're not going to be successful. To give you an idea, last year, his top 5 listing agents averaged 250 listings each taken.
Wow.
So, Scott, can I pick on you for a second?
Please do.
There is no wow. That is not a wow. That is a new norm. Since somebody did it, it's not a wow. It now becomes a standard. So last year they had 5 do it. This year their goal is to get 10 to do it, to grow their skills to that level. So one thing we talked about, somebody mentioned being on a schedule. So what's the most important part of your schedule then?
Your morning routine.
Your morning routine, which
Time
includes
blocking,
which
time
includes
blocking.
time blocking for what?
Lead generation.
Time block for lead generation. You put it in your calendar every day. And what do?
Stick to it.
You do it. You do it every day. Now, in the beginning, it's going to be a challenge. I understand. And here's the thing I don't want you to do. I don't want you to write down, I haven't done this ever, so I'm going to put down 3 hours a day. I'm going to do it every day. That is not going to work because it's just too much, too fast. So here's the way to go start this. Would anybody like to role play with me?
I would.
Oh, we have somebody here too, but wherever. Jordan, is that you?
Well, it's actually Michael.
Oh, Michael?
Michael, do it.
So
First of all,
Michael-
thank you, Tony, so much for being here. I'm so grateful for this call.
Well, thank you. So Michael, how many contacts do you do a day roughly right now?
About 10 to 15.
10 to 15. And how many days a week do you do 10 to 15?
Realistically, about 4.
About 4. And you'd like to be at 5?
I'd like to be at 5 or 100 contacts.
Okay. So if I said to you, could you do 20 contacts a day for 3 days a week? Would you say yes or no? Absolutely, positively.
Absolutely.
To the point where, okay, could you do 20 contacts a day, every day, every day, every day, every day for 4 days, starting Monday?
Yes.
Could you do it 5 days?
Yes, and there's a,
Okay,
I don't want to
so-
share my, yes,
Okay, no, so you can do it 4 days.
yes.
Let's be honest. Okay, if your
Yes.
life was at stake, how
Yeah.
many days, if your life was at stake, how many days could you do 20?
5 days a
If you
week.
don't do it, I get to come in and whack off your right arm.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, definitely 3 days a week.
Okay, so that's it.
Yes.
That's where we start.
Yeah.
3 days a week, we do 20. The other 2 days, do what you can.
Yeah.
And for a week or 2 or 3, and you decide. You decide when this thing is ready to go to 4. And it's at that point. Here's my arm. You can whack it off if I don't do 4. Until then, I'm keeping my arm. Is it making sense? That's how
Absolutely.
you get there. Because we blow our brains up. We're gonna do 20 a day for 5 days. And in reality, it's in your mind to do that. The reality of the implementation of that is slim and none. We
Right.
have to grow into what we do. And I don't care if you do 2 contacts a day. Just get to 5. And then you can go to 3 contacts a day. You can go to 5 contacts a day. You got to grow into it. You'll start, you have it in your mind you'd like to do 100, but how many weeks have you ever done 100 closings, 100 contacts?
I've done it multiple times.
multiple times.
Yeah.
So the goal is to grow into doing it what?
More consistently.
No consistency every day. The goal is to
Got
grow
it.
into 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 13 weeks a quarter, how many days you lead generate. So both those guys the guy that does 23, he went from doing, when in the beginning he was doing 250 days, which is approximately 50 weeks, doing 100 contacts a week. Today, he probably does.
Tony, I've got a question.
Yep.
If I could do 100 contacts in 4 days a week, or if my conversion ratio was better, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to get to the point where you do the 20 contacts a day. Then what do you think the next step would be based on your question?
To track my conversion?
That's exactly right. Now, if you get one appointment a week, the goal would be to do what?
To get 2 appointments a week.
That's exactly right. Then when you get to that point, instead of doing 100 contacts a week, you're gonna now, and the only way you can get there is to keep practicing your scripts and dialogues. And here's what I'm learning right now. People are not spending enough time every day to get good fast. So if you don't get good fast, what keeps happening to your conversion?
Right, it continues to drop.
You continue to work hard for a few appointments. So eventually do that for once you get in that groove of doing 20 contacts a day, then you got to start thinking, okay, first of all, let's not call it 20 contacts a day. Let's call it searching. So what are you searching for every day?
Someone who's motivated.
Right now, in the world of today, they don't even need to be motivated. They just need, the reason I say that is because real estate is not the way it used to be. You don't look, it's hard to find motivated people because the whole system of buying and selling is no longer an instant game. The idea of finding even a FSBO that would give you an appointment today is hard. Why? Because everybody is starting what in their search?
Online.
Earlier. You buy a boomtown lead, quote unquote. A boomtown lead is nothing more than a name and an address, an email, and a phone number on a piece of paper that needs what? What do you have to do when you get a boomtown lead?
Cultivate them.
You still got to call them.
Got to call them and find out what their motivation is. And most likely, what's their motivation? It's down the road. A boomtown lead, and they tell you when you buy them that it's a 6 to 18 month nurture. So eventually in your lead generation, in the beginning, what you're looking for today is somebody that's indicating they want to do something sometime. This is where our skill comes in then. Because what we're going to find out is how far down the road are they? What if they're 10 years down the road? What do you do with them?
Put them in the data bank.
That's exactly right. Because the ultimate goal is to build a big data bank of 5,000, 10,000. The guy that does 4,000 closings, his data bank is 325,000 people. Where did the 4,000 closings come from? Yeah, yeah. His data bank. You build a data bank, and it's I was taught this when I first got into real estate. The data bank is nothing more than a ping pong, a netted bag that you put ping pong balls in. So every time you get somebody who's going to do something in the near future, I have this big net bag with the holes about that big, and I put a ping pong ball in the bag because I created a nurture. Next day I get 2 nurtures. I put 2 ping pong balls in the bag. Here's what happens. The bag is about halfway full. What do people do then? When the bag is halfway full?
Stop filling it up.
Stop
Stop filling it up and start rummaging around looking for a what? Buyer or a seller. The goal is to do what? Fill the bag. So now I went from 50 people in my database to 500 in my database. My bag is full. I get another nurture. I push the ball into the bag, and what happens on the other side? If the bag is full, what happens on the other side?
The ball pops
Gonna
out.
push those things out.
A buyer or seller pop up. I get
Yeah.
better. I get 2 balls in. I get 2 leads on the back side. So Michael, the goal is once you build the consistency of making the calls, then the next step is I get on the phone every day, and my job is to find a nurture, everything from a nurture to an appointment when I'm on the phone. So what happens to my listening? Michael, what happens to your listening?
You become
When-
more intentional.
You become more intentional. So we want to build a habit of making the calls, then be intentional. Well, here's the other thing. We could do both simultaneously if we're practicing our scripts and dialogues enough to be able to listen and then have a response to the lead that was created. And here's the thing. That gentleman, when I was coaching him, what we did every day at the end of the lead gen is he recorded 2 or 3 people's calls. And then they would meet for an hour. So they'd lead generate from 8 to 11, 11 to 12, they would listen to calls and practice their scripts and dialogues. What was the number one thing they learned listening to their calls? Do you think? And we almost gave you the answer, so it's close. What do you think it was?
They needed to practice more.
They needed to practice what more?
Their script.
Listening.
Oh, they're listening.
Listening. Because what they found out was they almost needed that somebody say, I'm going to buy a house right now. That's when they heard it. It was an appointment rather than, when do you plan on moving? Never. Where was the lead? Where was the lead?
It went to the garbage probably.
Where was the lead? There was a lead there. Where was the lead? It was in the pause. If I'm never going to sell my house, how fast am I going to respond?
Never,
Never. When you plan on moving, never.
never.
When you plan on moving, never. When do you plan on moving? Never. Well, based on my experience, in that question, usually when there's a pause, there's something happening in your life, which is a seller in today's market. Something is happening into your life. And I was just wondering, will that change require anything like a real estate change? I didn't want to say anything. I'm going through a divorce.
So Tony, what I'm hearing you say is that we have to be willing to play the infinite game. and look at this in the long-term stretch, as well as the finite game sometimes, with looking for the things that are going to happen right now. But we can't just do this with only looking for the deals that are going to happen right this second. We have to play the long game.
We have to play the long game, and you'll enjoy this one, Scott. Scott and I know each other from Celebration Church and church in where Scott lived when he lived in Texas. And I listened to a sermon from Highlands, and the sermon was the power of same. So this is what lead generation has to turn into. The routine must become the reward. The routine must become the reward. So the reward for Michael every day is what? Michael, you can't answer this. Somebody else has to answer this for you. What's the reward for Michael?
Hitting his contacts every day.
Michael making his contacts for 3 days straight.
He celebrates 20 contacts a day. The goal is, the ultimate goal, or the infinite game goal is, I get a nurture. I get 2 nurtures. I get 5 nurtures. Now I'm playing the lead follow-up game with those nurtures in my pipeline. So 1 nurture is a 7, and 1 nurture is a 9, and 1 nurture is a -1, and 1 nurture is a 10. And that 10 nurture suddenly turns into a contract this week, a closing in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And what happens is, once we start getting those closings, what game do we stop? We stop the 20 contact a day. So the routine needs to become the reward. The goal is what happens from the routine. Or in real estate, we call that repetitious boredom.
Yeah, start every day at 0, right?
Yep, start every day at 0. You did 20 contacts yesterday, 20 contacts today. Now, how do you if you want to change that game a little bit, make one day a special day. With my clients in coaching, when I used to coach, we made it elephant hunting day. What's elephant? What would that mean to you? What is elephant hunting? Somebody said Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game. Yeah, it's the game.
Big game hunting.
That's the game. Every day, forever, as long as you're in real estate. 20 contacts a day. Now, Michael, you're going to get to the point where you don't need that anymore. You don't need the contacts, because eventually, and then I'll go back to what I was going to say earlier. You go back to the point where then you get on the phone. Instead of doing 20 contacts, you make calls until you do what?
Get an appointment.
Get an appointment.
Get an appointment. So I had a guy coached. He was doing 63 contacts a day and then set an appointment every day. That's a terrible ratio. If you can't get an appointment every 63 contacts.
Tony, you did something earlier that I thought was really, really great. I apologize to cut in, but when you were talking about the question of when are you going to sell, you did the pause and then said never. They did the pause. Right. They did the pause. And I think it's so great in regards to understanding to listen to the non-verbal cues. And we only pick up on those non-verbal cues if we put in the repetitions.
That's exactly right. Yeah, because you're not going to notice that. You know, why does our ratios get to 125 contacts? The average is 125 contacts to an appointment. Why do we get that? because we don't hear probably the other 5 contacts you miss. It's a pause. It's a funny answer to a question. It's also that first no is called the what? Anybody know? What happens when
Smoke
you
screen?
Reflex no.
reflex no? You walk into the store, you're there to buy something. The clerk walks up to you and they say, "May I help you?" And what do you say?
No, I'm just looking.
Just look.
No, just looking. You came in to buy and they ask you to buy and you go, "Nope, I'm not." So the script was, where I came from is, when you plan on moving, how long have you lived here? How did you happen to pick this area? If you were to move again, where would you go? It went, so in those 4 questions, it went from never to, we'd like to live on a lake, or we'd like to live on water. May not be a lake in your case in Florida. It'd be just water. Like to live on a golf course. Well, 45 seconds ago, the answer was never. Now the 45 seconds is, I want to live on water or a golf course. Now, Michael, what do we have a discussion now?
Absolutely, you found motivation.
You found an opportunity. You're absolutely right. Now it's just digging in, and so then you get to the point where when you have all these scripts and dialogues learned, you don't use them in order. Like when you look at the FSBO script or expired script, because you know what, they may not answer the question correctly. So then the listening becomes, so you want to be on a golf course? Yes. Do you have a particular golf course you have in mind where you'd like to live? Well, no. When would you like to be on that golf course? Well, my son graduates from college, from high school. We don't want to take him out of his school. He'll graduate in May. So now what do you have, Michael?
I apologize. Somebody was talking to.
Now I have a potential May
Time frame.
Now I have a potential May closing. I have to nurture him. I have to stay in touch with him. So May, do you want to do it in May, as soon as he's out of school? Do you want to get him moved into college and start looking in the fall? What's your exact timing in that move? Well, we haven't thought too much about it. So if you were put in that position to make a decision today, do you think that would be May, or do you think that would be more like September? Probably be September. So do you think it would be early in September or late in September? Probably be early December. So do you want to start looking in September, or do you want to be closed in September? Probably closed. Early or late September? Late September. So it means you need to start, you want to close in late September. Right now it's taking 30 to 45 days to find a house. September, now we have to be looking, we have to have a house ready to go under contract by the middle of August. So, or it takes 45 days to close. Sorry, I missed you want to close. So it takes 45 days. So we'd have to probably start looking in the middle of June. So is it okay if I stay in touch with you and kind of keep you updated what's happening in the market? So would that be okay with you, Michael, if I keep you updated what's happening in the market?
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's an important thing, Michael. I don't want you to be lost in real estate, really what's happening from the media, because what we know right now, the media is really off track in what they're talking about. Their subjects they're talking about are totally irrelevant to the consumer. And information is changing so fast I'd probably have to be in touch with you at least every couple of weeks. So if you really want to know what's happening in the market, would it be okay if I just touch base with you every other week?
Absolutely.
Great, because I don't want you to get misinformation and then end up missing that whole opportunity to be in that house on the golf course in September.
All right, that sounds great.
Okay, so now I got permission to do what? Nurture
To
him
follow up.
every 2 weeks. I nurture him. And
I
here's
like
my, so my lead,
process too.
well, go ahead.
I like how you went through the process of time. I think that's so important because they don't realize how much time it takes to actually get into their new property.
Absolutely. We think they know all this stuff. Most realtors are ignorant. The public is more ignorant than the realtors. So I now have the right to talk to him every 2 weeks, nurture him. I keep telling him what's happening in the market, what's happening with potential payments. Okay, so I have this whole discussion with this person. What's one subject that's on the mind of everybody that I did not talk about?
Interest rates.
What did I say instead of interest rates? This is a listening lesson now.
The market.
Misinformation.
Payments.
Payments.
Your payments.
Right. Payments. I didn't talk about interest rates. I talked about payments. Your job as a realtor is a level shift or get off that, level shift. We're taught that in commissions, right? Will you cut your commission? So what you're saying is you really want to net the most money possible. Is that correct? Yes. We just went from the commission discussion to a net discussion. We just went from a interest rate discussion to a payment discussion. Commission discussions, interest rates discussions, those are losing discussions because it's based on everybody's what? Based on opinion. When people say, well, rates are never going to go down. So then what economic facts have you studied that you could prove to me that interest rates are never going to come down? Well, I don't have any. So is this factual information or conjecture, or is this the misinformation you're getting from the media?
Speculation.
Yeah. So anyway, to break up those days, you could have an elephant hunting day. So what would elephant hunting be, you think, for you? A special
Find all
day?
your $5 and $10 million expireds and go ahead and knock on the doors, make phone calls to those folks.
Yep. What else could it be?
God.
Luxury is definitely one direction. What else could it be?
Double up the calls.
Double up calls.
I didn't get the first part of calls.
Double up.
Oh, double up on calls. You do that?
Expireds and FISBOs.
Expires in FISBOs.
I'm muted.
Old
New
expired.
Call it, yeah. So there's other
Commercial.
things. Commercial. Yeah. What else?
Businesses.
Investments,
Agent referrals.
agent referrals,
Business to business. Business
Yeah.
to business.
business to business, building a concierge service with your allied resources. There's so many things that all of it though will lead to what?
Lead generation.
Contacts.
Okay, so the goal of the elephant hunting day is to find out if your average commission's 8,000, elephant hunting day would be, if I do business to business, I could double my referrals and the quality of my referrals would be better. I go out and sell a $5 million house. The commission's more than $8,000. 3% of 5 million. $150,000 commission. I got a whole lot of stories on that too, but we won't go there. So are you seeing what this consistency looks like? So the role playing, the consistency today, you just have to judge and role play. And I have a lot of clients that their people cannot get on the phones until they pass their role play test or their script test. In other words, they don't want them on the phone doing what?
Wasting opportunities.
Wasting opportunities. So do you want to be on the phone wasting opportunities? No. So then spend more time in the beginning getting good at your scripts and dialogues than you do on the phone.
You know, Tony, you saying that when I first got started was about the time that Diana and Sean came out with their script CD. And when I first got started in real estate, that was the only thing I listened to my car for almost a year. And it drove my wife nuts because we drove around listening to scripts together. Yet that was my way of internalizing them. And you're so right. It's not that the script is going to come in the exact order that it is on the paper, or the conversation is going to happen in the exact order that it is on the paper. Yet when you internalize those things, you naturally understand where to go in the conversation because you've built a repertoire of exactly what you can say in the moment when you need it, when it comes up in the conversation.
Right. And you're going to get so good, they're going to give you an answer to it. You're going to ask a question, they're going to give you an answer, and you listen carefully to that answer, and their answer gives you the next what? Gives you the next question. Then they answer the question, and they give you the next question. And you grab this piece to answer that question, and you grab this piece to answer the question, or you just expand on the question they gave you. So how do people get so good at scripts and dialogues is the conversation, and we say we don't lead generate anymore, we have conversations. The conversation leads you to the questions. And the ultimate goal of the questions and the answers is to put that person in a position where their only response is eventually to give you what, Michael? An appointment. How do you get to those appointments? They put themselves in a place where the only answer is Thursday at 4 o'clock would be great. Because any answer other than Thursday at 4 o'clock is totally illogical. You ask them a question, what golf course do you want to be at? And the answer, I want to move to Chicago. I mean, it's that weird. And if you ask the right questions and really listen to their answers, you could keep going for, well, Diana could close them 20 times. That's why her last year, she was her listing appointment conversion rate was 100%. 162 appointments. Go ahead.
It's just what they're saying. It's listening to what they're not saying as well, and going to.
That's exactly right. Yep. That's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. You're listening. Yeah, because if it's totally illogical, the answer, then you're going, oh, this is a great, this is part of all the scripts you have, is I'm confused. Because if their answer is illogical, you go just, I'm confused. You said you wanted to do something and be in your house by the end of September, but that answer said you don't want to be in your house by the end of September. So let's go back to that part. So do you want to be in by the end of September? Well, yes. You're saying now by your actions, you don't want to be in by September.
Help me understand.
Since I only can believe your actions, I guess you don't want to be in. I had a lady yesterday no, 2 days ago. No, It was 2 days ago. It was Tuesday afternoon at Masterminds. She said, I can never stay on my schedule. And I said, what's your goal? She said, my goal is blank. And I said, okay, is that your goal? Positively your goal? It's absolutely my goal. Then I'm confused. Why can't you stay on your schedule? Well, I have a hard time staying on my schedule. I said, so that's not really your goal. She said, well, it's my goal. I said, no, it's not your goal. Why don't you want to hit your goal? She said, I do want to hit my goal. Do you think not being on a schedule helps you hit your goal? No. So you don't want to be on your goal. Well, I do want to be on my goal. Nope, you don't want to be on your goal. If you absolutely positively want to be on your goal, would you not be on your goal? She came up to me yesterday and she said, I thought about it all night. I talked to my husband. You're right. I don't want to be on my goal. I said, you have to make peace with your schedule, not your goal. We have to think about the same thing. If we want great conversion rates, we have to make peace with the fact that we may have to practice scripts and dialogues an hour or two a day. If you practice
Tony,
half hour a day, guess when you're going to be really good? When the market's shifted and all that stuff you're learning is outdated. Because if you really think about the difference between markets is what you say. Nothing else changes. Does your lead gen time change? No. Does your listing appointment change a little bit? That's a messaging, yes. Doing 20 contacts a day for 5 days a week, does that change? No. So the consistency stays with the lead gen and the lead follow-up. It also stays with the skills. So only thing that changes in the skills is the messaging. It's a different message today. It's not like we got 23 offers. What do you want to offer? We got one offer. What do you want to do? And they're just like, do we have a shortage of inventory? Yes or no?
Yes.
Think about the inventory. Do we have a shortage of inventory?
Absolutely.
If we're going to sell 4.3 million houses, it's still going to be one of the top 10 years in real estate for sales. Do we have a shortage of inventory?
No.
No. What do we have a shortage? What do we have? What's causing our inventory problem?
Buyer
conversion in our message.
Days on the market. If you sell a house every 8 days, can you build an inventory?
No.
When it takes 45 days or 50 days to sell a house, do you have an inventory?
Yes. You have an inventory. It's just a low inventory.
Yeah. Well, it's not low. It's just a short inventory. It's listed on Monday and sold on Saturday. You don't have any time to putz around looking, can I show you that house? Well, I can't do it till the weekend. It's going to be gone by the weekend.
Yeah.
Well, there's no shortage of inventory. It's just a fast selling inventory.
It's creating a sense of urgency that's needed.
Yes. That's it. It's an urgency issue on the buyer side. On the seller side, it's on the realtor side, it sells so fast, you don't have an opportunity to build an inventory. Like I coached some people in California in the early 90s when the market was just like it was. If people the day the house hit the market, if you don't show them the house that day, what happens?
Lost opportunity for them.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
It was gone with 21 offers. So, people say, well, like a buyer in that market. Yep, you're going to have multiple offers and you're gonna have to make an offer probably at 110% of list. Well, I don't want to do that. Is that person a buyer in that market? Yes or no?
Nope.
Nope. Just like today. If you're married to your mortgage rate, are you a buyer?
No, you have to,
No.
you
So,
want the house.
yeah. So one of the things we want to build in our skills is how to build a relationship with people so we have the ability to have what kind of a discussion.
Honest discussions, and you need to set the pace for them.
Right? And what kind of an honest discussion? We want to have this discussions where we become their trusted advisor. So when we talk to them and they have a personal event happen in their life, because that's what we're looking for, our personal events, we'll get the answers. You know, and here's the other thing, speaking of personal events and this scripting, you had to have a list in front of you of all the personal events that can happen in someone's life. So you can pursue that direction. So what are some events that happen in a person's life?
Death, divorce.
Empty nest.
Death, divorce, empty nesters,
Finding out they're gonna have twins instead of just one.
right? What else? Think outside the box.
Parents
Job
pass
change.
away.
How about I learned this one the other day. I learned this one Monday night. Do you know stairs are a personal event?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I actually focus on that market.
There you go. So if they've been in their house 20 to 25 years, that's the largest selling increment of that 0 to 25 years. Is that 20 to 25 years? So,
Job relocation.
so what else? So stairs for that person is a life-changing event. What's another life-changing event? Our personal event. Yard work.
Job relocation.
So now they're what kind of a seller? Downsized seller. What about somebody that has kids that are now turning 13 or 14? What's the personal opportunity there?
Going to school.
More
Correct.
room. Want to be at a certain high school. Schools.
So school is one. What's another?
The kids may need privacy.
Kids may need privacy. What's another?
Kids hanging around with.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you, Michael, is your goal to have your house be the gathering place or not be the gathering place? Oh, you want it to be the gathering place. So Michael, are you in the right house for your son's kids to come over and be at the hanging out place? No. That's something we're going to have to solve then, isn't it? Yep, I think we will.
Well, Tony, that's one of the examples that John Maxwell used personally is he chose for his house to be the house where his kids would bring their friends so that he could get to know them to make sure his kids were hanging around with the right people.
We when my son was growing up, we were the gathering place. And we ended up buying a bigger house so we could be the gathering place. We were the meeting place for the personal social life for his small group was our house. We were financially capable of doing that. New Year's Eve was 10 kids, 15 kids over putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle. My son had a very controlled life. His friends were always around. They just were at our house. So just think of all those things that happen in a person's life. Now you've got some, if I want to be my kids together, do I care if the interest rates are at 8?
Nope.
Nope. And they're not at 8. We've lost that discussion. I don't want to, I mean, I could go on for a long time. So, and we've only got 13 or 17 minutes left for questions. So the name of this game is consistency. Every day, every day, every day, every day. The routine becomes the reward. Not missing a day, that's consistency. Missing days leads to more missing days, leads to more missing days to leads. So consistency in your lead gen, your lead follow-up, your relationship building, all those things that pertain to your database. And the other side is skills. In the world of today, please get an hour or two in a day now, so that you're, skills are the third leg of the triangle. Leads, listings, and leverage. Skills, if you took 85% of the appointments you go on, that would be leverage, yes or no, for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah. Why get 1 out of every 2? Why don't you just get every 1? Like Diana. Every 1. Just have a goal. My goal is to take 100% of my listing appointments. And you know how to get 100% of your listing appointments? Be impeccable with your lead follow-up. I'll give you one idea on that, and then we'll go to questions. You set up the next appointment, Michael, like we talked about. And you set an exact hour. Let's say, do you want to meet morning or afternoon? Afternoon. Do you want to meet between early afternoon or late afternoon? Late afternoon. Was that like 3 to 4 or 4 to 5? Yeah. Which one? 3 to 4. Okay, perfect. So on this date, I'm gonna call you between 3 and 4. After hello, what are my first words?
Thank you for taking my call.
Say, think the other way. Think me building a deep relationship with you.
I told you to call you at 3.
I promised I'd call you at 3, and here I told you I'd call you between 3 and 4, and here it is 3:15. You just separated yourself from 95% of the realtors, because how many realtors would make that call? How many realtors would ever call them back? You not only called them back, you called them back at a specific time. You told them, I am reliable. I'm honest. I'm truthful. You did all that without saying one word about those words. So anyway, that's the business. Consistency in those 2 areas at a really high level.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's open it up for anybody who has questions for Tony. Yeah,
I'll take some ahas too, because somebody.
Yeah, let's start with ahas. What ahas did you take away from what Tony shared with us, and then we'll get into questions.
My aha is at least an hour of script and role play. None of this 15 minutes is nice. Like, I was role playing this morning with someone who had never role played before. And I realized that that's the key to everything. That's what sparked my business originally. And that's what I need to get back to. That's the one thing I need to focus on.
Great.
Michael.
I think you'll see a big difference, because you won't have to do it, do it for a couple of months, and then you'll be happily pleased with the results you're going to get on your calls and your conversations.
We got one in Aventura too. Question.
Hey,
Michael over there.
My name's Evan. So I do, no less than 90 minutes every single day, 5 days a week. I've been doing that for 4.5 years, 20 contacts every single day. I have found that it's a lot more difficult, and right now my conversion rate of getting appointments is less. I'm seeing a lot of anger and frustration. Would you recommend I just double down and make more calls? And I'm not sure if I can even do that, because I'm starting to get tired. What would you suggest if you were coaching me right now?
Gary said double down. So I would increase them by 10%. You're making 15 a day, go to 17. Then go to 19. Then go to 23. We got to talk to more people, because there's 26 million people that have a loan at at 3.5% or less. Half of those are mentally married to that mortgage rate. As a business person, that's why there's so many people in this country broke and don't have a lot of money, because they don't make good business decisions because they get lost in things like, if somebody didn't buy a house 2 years ago because they didn't want to be in a competitive situation in your market, how much equity did they lose by not buying a house?
Unbelievable.
50,000, 75,000?
Easy.
The person that bought the house and got in a bidding war and won it and paid 110%, that 10% was eaten up in 6 months, and now they got 100,000 in equity. Do you know the difference between, do you know the net worth difference between a renter and an owner? If you own a house, the
It's
Fed
over
Reserve- Fed Reserve
$200,000.
did this- Pardon?
It's over $200,000.
Yeah, it's $6,300 if you're a renter is your net worth, and if you own a house, the average net worth is $225,000.
Yet the media just came out with an article saying, worst time to buy, best time to rent, for the first time in a long time.
I know. What's your interest rate at with rent?
100%.
100%.
When did 100% be better to pay than 8%? Those people probably are renters. That's why they write those stupid articles.
All right, let's come to Tara. Tara Carter.
Anybody got any questions? Thanks for the ahas.
Tara, go ahead.
Thank you, Tony. I'm so grateful for this call, and we are so privileged to have you share with us today. And my aha is, I'm coming up on a decade in the business, and the fundamentals don't change. Like, nothing about what we're supposed to be doing consistently every single day ever changes. I think that we tend to get a little bit complacent. And I know Diana says that to be complacent is equivalent to dying inwardly, right? And so I guess that was my aha. And I guess my question too, because as one of the productivity coaches with the Waxman Group, we tend to find that majority of our agents have call reluctance, meaning, and I've always said that that's them essentially being selfish and thinking only about themselves and not having like a servant heart, knowing that there's people out there that they need to help. So is there any advice that you could have for the agents that really have that call reluctance, whether it be fear or whatever it is?
You can do door knocking. You can do client parties. You can do seminars, buyer seminars, seller seminars. Don't be a renter seminars. What else could you do? What else are some of you doing? You could do open houses. You could start farming. Farming is valid today because a farm and a boomtown lead both have the same lead time. A farm takes 6 to 18 months to build for free, and you get to pay $2,500 a month for a whole bunch of boomtown leads that take 6 to 18 months to nurture. Treat a farm and turn it into a database. I have some friends, I coach them. They've done open houses for 10 years. We talked about them because one of the people we were talking about open houses, coach them now. In those 10 years, they've made close to $25 million in GCI, and they only farm. They farm very specifically and very strategically, but they only farm. Their average days on the market for a listing before it sells, 86% of their listings sell in 8 days. They do open houses over 7 days, collect offers, sell it on the 8th day. 86% of their houses sell in 7 days, 8 days.
And that's their new standard that they've set for that community.
That's exactly right. They've trained everybody, and they call it the magic listing formula.
Yeah. All right, Michael Longo.
So there's a lot of things to do. Don't get married to that. If you do open houses, just do them right. Do a 6-level open house or more, knock doors, call people. They got a database of 25,000 people now, all built from open houses. Do you know how many people they invite to every open house?
25,000?
Yes, they invite every person in their database.
Wow.
They're at some of the open houses. Their clients come. They meet them. They do tacos one open house. What would you call that? A mini client party. It's a lead follow-up. They're coming to you. Also do reverse bold 100s. There's a lady that was on a panel at, she does bold, reverse bold 100s. Her average in calls are, she gets 400 inbound calls in one day. The people that do the open houses, they get, when they do their 100th closing, they give away $100,000 to charity. Everybody calls in over a 1 month period, giving them the name of the charities. They get over 6,000 inbound calls, Scott. 6,000 inbound calls. That's 200 a day.
Yeah.
Inbound.
Yeah. And they've made part of their lead generation process helping others.
That's exactly right. And then what's their client party? All the charities come that they're giving money to, all the clients come, and if they'd like to contribute to those charities, they do. So they probably double that 100,000 into 200,000.
Yeah. All right, Michael Trelongo.
So I just want to give an aha. I guess I'm probably coming up on around 5,000 hours of scripts, role play, dialogue practice, and real life, real time practice. And Tony said that the media is out of touch with, and I'm just adding to with our market here in South Florida. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to follow up with you every couple of weeks just to, keep you up to date with what's going on with our market, because unfortunately, there's some misinformation. That is so big for, I haven't heard anybody say that before. I've said I want to be your resource. I'm going to follow up with you, but I've never added that part. And I think it's so crucial right now, because every time somebody thinks about selling their home or doing something real estate related, the moment that they think it, they're going to start talking to their friends about it. They're going to start looking at the news, and everybody's going to have all kinds of opinions. But you've got to be their resource, and asking them to follow up and making sure you make them your resource is so key.
And if you have, and Michael, if you haven't done that, then I had a client, old client. Get on as many top producing agents' mailing lists as you can. They give you all the things you want to. Just copy them. Here's the story. One thing is copying. Two things is research. So just research all these people and use the research you find.
Well, like my coaching partner says, R&D. It's rip off and duplicate.
That's it. R&D, rip off and duplicate. Absolutely.
Questions?
Because those people are creating a tremendous amount of business off that stuff. Just copy it. But he wrote a letter to everyone. He's got maybe 20,000 people in his database. He wrote a letter and he said, I apologize. I am totally sorry for what I've done to you over the last 4 or 5 months. I have let you to the wolves and let you just to learn about real estate through the misinformation of the media. And therefore, I am absolutely positively committed to touching you every week as to what's happening in the real estate market. And I am so sorry I didn't start that sooner. He got people calling him and thanking him for touching them every week.
Yeah.
That's 52 contacts. He touches them, I think, 72 times a year.
All right. I think we got time for one more, and we'll wrap it up with your role play partner today, Michael Topo.
So, Michael, thank you for letting me pick on you for almost the whole call. I appreciate that. Great job.
Thank you so much. I absolutely loved it. A mutual friend of mine, Scott Bagoon, said, this is timeless, right? To have an opportunity to converse with you. So I'm really, really grateful.
Well,
I have two thoughts. Great.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. Thank you. We're in a great business. You can
The
absolutely-
routine board,
because you can control your own life. You can, like the Burns, they give away 100,000. In reality, they do it in public, but they probably give away 500,000 a year. How much help do they do? I know. But anyway, so a lot of opportunity. Also, can I plug Diana's book, Scott?
Please. I think Michael had one thing he wanted to add, and then I'll let you do that.
Okay.
it's so it was two things, right? The routine is a reward, which I thought was incredible. And I like the fact that you had said that this one team wouldn't allow their agents to start making dials until they passed the scripts test.
Yep. What I used to do with my clients is say, call on the other end of town. Don't screw up any leads in your market. Go practice in Georgia if you want. And here's about this. It was called FSBO role plays. Start calling FSBOs with no goal of getting an appointment. Just practice your scripts and dialogues, because they give you real objections and they respond to your responses as a real seller. You'll find out how good you are when you start role playing with FSBOs. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. That's real.
So anyway, there's a thought for you. Well,
There you go. Tell us about Diana's book.
Diana wrote a book. It comes out on Tuesday. I'll give it the name is Becoming More. It's basically taking your story, the story that we make up about our lives today, and all the steps you need to do to build a story that you want to be at. And if you want to get more information about the book, the website is becomingmorebook.com. And I'll just take one more minute. I got 1 minute. I'll be 1 minute over, Scott.
That's
Scott, she has an assessment with it. So if you order the book before Tuesday, it'll tell you how to get the assessment. The assessment gives you where's your mindset today. And here's what we learned, Scott, because she's given it to a lot of realtors from all companies, because a lot of the presentations she's doing are, like recruiting events. So, yeah. But the realtors right now, 72% of them have a scarcity mindset. You were talking earlier, we have no competition. You don't have, that means only 28% of the realtors are really your competition. The other ones, their mindset is so far away from being a competitor, you're only competing with 28% of the realtors.
Amen.
And over 70% are living with a mindset of doubt. And basically her book is you find out what your mindset is, and then there's 7 limiting mindsets and how to get those limiting mindsets to liberating mindsets. And that's what the book is about. All the steps you take. It's built off of John Wooden's triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So once you find your limiting beliefs, what words do you use? What's your mindset? And what steps do you take to get that mindset? I think there's about 15 steps, and you just go step to step, and you start here with a limiting mindset of scarcity, and up here with a mindset of abundance.
Yeah. All right. So I've already ordered a bunch of copies of that book, Tony, and I'm going to go through the list of all the people who are on our call today and in the market centers and give out a couple of copies of it for next week when I get it. And I'll send everyone the information about Diana's book. She has been pivotal in helping to transform the lives of so many people, just like Tony has. And I promise you, you will take a lot out of this book to help you transform your life, because every single day we wake up with the choice, y'all. We have the choice to be comfortable and stay exactly where we are today, or we have the choice to step on the other side and out of that comfort zone, even if it's just a small amount like Tony was talking about, do something that makes you just a little bit more uncomfortable today than you were yesterday, because that's where progress happens. Progress does not happen when you're sitting there being comfortable. And there's 72% of the people sitting out there right now, Tony, are just sitting there being comfortable and living in their doubt.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. I wish everybody to be super successsul, because I'm a part owner in your region. So I would love everybody to have their best year ever. So,
There we go. Thank you, Tony.
Tony.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
See you
Appreciate
later.
it, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.